Oh, yes, it is.
This is
Has it, Ron? I haven't
probably-
reached
It has changed, especially when you do.
I have my mask on and my glasses fog, so I hadn't noticed it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The world of international business.
I wasn't sure. No, it's not a big.
I wish that was the only part that changed.
Yeah, I know, I agree.
Good evening, all. We're reconvening back to open session. I would have asked if we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent meditation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone, for wearing your masks. We all have to wear it again. So, and also to the new executive orders, I understand this, that we cannot take them off at all, even when we come to the podium to speak. So I apologize for that, but we're all trying to make this work. Okay. So
I recommend the minutes pertaining to the matter of security, including but not limited to the deployment of security personnel or devices. Approval of
a second to the minutes pertaining to matter of security be remain sealed until a later time. Any discussion? Those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? Abstaining or recusal? That's unanimous. Thank you.
I recommend that minutes which relate to the privacy of students and their records, approval of home instruction requests remain sealed.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second to recommend that the minutes which relate to the privacy of students and their records remain sealed. Any discussion? Those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? Nope, that's unanimous. Thank you so much.
I recommend that minutes which relate to the privacy of student and their records, rescinding of home instruction approvals remain sealed.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second to recommend that the minutes which relate to the privacy of student their records, rescinding of home instruction approvals remain sealed. Any discussion? I'll take it to a vote. Those in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions or recusals? That was unanimous. Thanks very much. Miss Justine.
Executive session votes. The first vote were executive session minutes of August 10th, litigation update. Approved Callahan, Day, Juicy, Lagori, Luzon, Lyle, McAllister, Stahl, abstaining Macaruso. The next was executive session minutes, August 10th, approval of EOPs. In favor, Callahan, Day, I apologize. Callahan, Juicy, Lagori, Luzon, Lyle, McAllister, Stahl, abstaining Day, and Macaruso. Do I read the vote for the tabling? Because we tabled something, that's a vote we took, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We took that vote.
So we tabled the next approval of the EOPs. All in favor, Callahan, Day, Juicy, Lagori, Luzon, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, and Stahl. Executive session minutes, August 10th, home instruction requests. In favor, Callahan, Day, Juicy, Lagori, Luzon, Lyle, McAllister, Stahl, abstaining Macaruso. Home instruction request tonight. In favor, Callahan, Day, Juicy, Lagori, Luzon, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, and Stahl. Rescinding home instruction request tonight. In favor, Callahan, Day, Juicy, Lagori, Luzon, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, and Stahl. And finally, to return to open session, all in favor, Callahan, Day, Juicy, Lagori, Luzon, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, and Stahl.
Thank you, Catherine.
Recognitions. Please join me in congratulating the following students for Postseason Awards. High school baseball, Liam Goldstein, All-Division Golden Glove. Liam Flynn, All-Division Catcher. And Austin DeAngelis, All-Division Center Field. We also want to recognize high school sophomore Rico Thompson's brick stitch beadwork is on display at the Warwick Center for the Arts in the Jury Native American art exhibit entitled Resilience. We're also very excited to announce our District Teacher of the Year, Janine Mankoff. She was announced during our convocation. To quote Professor Richard LeBlanc, good teaching is as much about passion as it's much about reason. It's about caring for your craft, having a passion for it, and conveying that passion to everyone, most importantly to your students. This quote was selected by Principal Joe Gencarelli when he nominated Ms. Mankoff for the District Teacher of the Year. Ms. Mankoff conveys her passion to the entire staff, students, and families throughout her school community. She truly is an unsung hero and a very well-deserving recipient of the 2021-2022 Teacher of the Year. Her commitment to reach and motivate each of her students and staff is truly an inspiration. Ms. Mankoff was celebrated at our convocation beginning of this year and given a plaque and flowers. She will also be celebrated on Saturday, September 18th at 5 p.m. for the Educator Excellence Water Fire event, a salute to Rhode Island educators, and it will be held at the Basin Stage Nest to Station Park in downtown Providence. We also want to recognize Danielle Scunccio, our ESP Professional of the Year. Danielle started as a part-time clerk. She worked her way up to secretary. She has held this position for the past 4 years and is extremely dedicated. She always places students first. She lends a helping hand in a variety of areas and is dedicated to the Charahoe community. She has organized the main office to make sure it's productive, efficient, and welcoming throughout the pandemic. She has worked in additional hours and stayed to ensure the school was ready to open. She played a major role for learning. She's always ready to lend a helping hand. We also have our distinguished educators and ESP professionals who were nominees for this award: Kelly Bacatura, Emily Iredale, Dr. Lisa Smith, Danielle Bruno, Wendy Gillum, Diane Bellata, Sharon Druda, and Dana Parmigiano, and they were all presented with flowers on convocation. Anybody here?
Is anyone here?
Sharon is here.
Oh, yes. Congratulations. Okay, so we're on to Roman numeral 6, which is public forum. This is the time where the public can come to the podium and speak on any matter they wish. Ms. Giusti is going to do us a favor and try to limit your comments to 2 minutes. Please try to adhere to that. And please be respectful. Everyone might have a different voice than yours, and please, listen and give everyone an opportunity to speak.
Good evening.
Good evening,
Kedrick Swain, Ashway.
Mr. Swain.
Just gonna give anybody else who hadn't been up here before a chance to speak, but anyway, sorry, I had something prepared and completely decided to change it on the way here. So, so based on previous requests of agenda items brought by committee members that haven't really been addressed to satisfaction, I'm concerned that collectively you guys aren't following the guidelines that you're required to, and this is going to possibly place you at risk of being in non-compliance. I do understand that everybody comes from different professional backgrounds. However, when getting elected and having an oath as a school committee member, there is a general powers and duties of school committee guidelines, number 26. I'm sorry, not 26. Code of Management Principles and Ethical School Standards, to accept and encourage a variety of opinions with all parts of the community. And then in doing so, recognizing that the first and greatest concern is to be the educational welfare of all students. So we elected you because we felt as though your role to assist us as a community was to provide the most effective educational program for our students. I would like to thank all of you for not responding to my email that I sent prior to the August 10th meeting, where I requested a response from each of you as to why you continue to seemingly ignore the parents, why, despite all evidence presented in previous meetings, you claim that there are certain policies not being made regarding like the critical race theory thing or masks or whatever. And what you guys are trying to achieve, and the lack of this response, it does not inspire confidence. I'm sure you're aware that the increase of homeschooling this year, for a multitude of reasons, has risen dramatically. So I'd also like to ask you that, what's your plan for the students that remain in school? Is there going to be an impact on their education due to the lack of funding from so many homeschool kids, the growth of homeschooling this year? And one last item.
Thank you.
What?
Yeah, you said
Oh,
one
oh.
last, thank you.
Yeah, just one last item. Per 16.2.9.26, there's guidelines to undertake a minimum of 6 hours of professional development annually. I would like to follow up with an email asking specific questions as to that teaching, as to that professional development. And I'd like to go on record that I am requesting a response to that email. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swain.
Hi, I'm Caleb Grant from Hope Valley. And this will be off the cuff, so I'm going to try and be as you work so hard, and it's very trying times. And I guess what I would say is I'm just trying to put in a plug for people outside of the meetings. If you know a person who sees an issue differently than you, take time out of your day to approach them and talk to them and get their perspective, because I am a middle of the road guy. I see things from all angles. It was hurtful to me when motions have been made to, misunderstandings about the anti-racism task force or the Charahoe Youth Task Force have, or maybe just perspectives that are different than mine, lead to wanting to shut them down. That hurts me a little bit because I have friends who are helped a lot by both of those organizations, and I feel our community is made better for everyone by both of those organizations. That said, I feel like I have a good working relationship with people on the committee and people in public who do think that the Charahoe Youth Task Force should be shut down and do think that it should be, or taken off the webpage, and that have real concerns about the Anti-Racism Task Force. And for me, that's invaluable. I don't want people who believe different than me to think that I think their values are less important. And that, I think, is where things are getting so heated, is that if you're on one camp, then anybody who speaks out against what you believe in is vilified, and vice versa. And I just think that if we can step back and talk to people who see things differently, there's actually a lot more room for compromise and common ground. And hopefully that came through correctly. I care so much about all the children in this community, all our students, whether they're, whatever their background is and whatever their family values are. I want all parents to have space to approach you guys and say, this is what we need for our family, and to be responsive and to have everybody at the table. So hopefully that makes sense. Thank you guys for all you do. And that's my plug. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. I really appreciate it. We can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is business.
The next item is the Perkins grant. I recommend approval to submit the Perkins grant as submitted.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the submission of the Perkins grant, and I would like to open it up for discussion if there's any questions regarding the grant. Yes, Mr. Stahl.
Just like to say that I didn't really understand the background and history of this and what it was about. So I had a good conversation with Mr. Off
who gave me lots of understanding and background. And I appreciate his availability, kind of short notice to do that and talk through it with me. And I just wanted to say I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Stahl. Any other discussions or comments with regards to the Perkins grant? Okay, so there's been a motion and a second. I'll take it to a vote. Those in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions or recusals? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. On to B.
The next item is commitment of FY '21 funds. I recommend that you commit retroactively as to June 30th, 2021, the funds noted on the memo from Ned Draper dated September 3rd, 2021.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second to recommend that we commit retroactively to June 30th, 2021, the school committee, the funds noted on the memo from Ned Draper dated September 3rd, 2021. Any discussions or questions for Mr. Draper? Mr. Draper, you have any comments, or if there's no questions, you're good? You're good. Okay, so I'll take it to a vote. Those in favor? Those opposed? Any abstentions or recusals? That was unanimous also. Thank you, Mr. Draper, for the memo. Okay, you're
The
on.
next item is the back to school update. So the update, we opened back to school September 2nd with all our schools except for Richmond. We had a flooding in the basement, but I want to commend the team. We were out and about very early that morning and pulled in a crew. Running with Richmond on the Friday, so all schools are up and running. We did receive an official letter from the Department of Health stating our back to school plan fully aligned with all published health and safety guidance as of August 2021. And we are required to resubmit if any changes are made. And it's also an ESSER requirement in order to ensure we access funds. We also, as you noted when you read the back to school plan, it very much mirrored our plan from last year. We did a really great job last year, and I think many of our community members have reached out about our strategies. They worked well, so we continued them, and then learned from the beginning of last year, and we're ready to continue. We still have HEPA filters in every classroom with the extra air exchanges. I know many people have asked about the filters in those. Those can run for 3,000 hours before being changed. They run for our year, they ran for 2,200 hours, and we changed them anyway. So to make sure that we updated those. If there was a question about that. Athletics are back to traditional seasons, our fall, winter, and spring. And right before I came here, I headed to volleyball, and soccer's playing as well. So it's fun to get back out to athletics and see our kids playing their normal season. The busing issue is getting back on track. I appreciate everyone's patience. We actually are faring much better than most districts with transportation. We have worked very well with Ocean State. They've worked with us, the principals and admins, and the teams have been adjusting routes as necessary. We are going through bus routes to ensure that those who aren't riding are not holding up the bus stops, so that we're not stopping at places that we don't need to. So all that will be cleaned up very shortly as well as we go through that, but things are up and running. We continue, we're probably one of the few districts that continue informing all families when we have a positive COVID case that we are contact tracing. But we did believe that was an important part of our plan as it allowed transparency. So we will continue that practice. And we are working to set up our COVID testing plan similar to last year. We have received, we mentioned last time, our ALC funds, and that will hopefully be up and running with the middle school and high school by the end of this month. And I know Charlestown is getting up and running soon, but it'll be based on the school's plan and staff capacity. But those are the big updates from last time.
Committee members, do you have any questions for? Yes, Mr. Stoll.
Just a couple quick questions. One is, the first one's a comment, then a question. The comment is just a lot of carryover from last year, and a lot of community members were really happy and thought it was great, so we're doing a lot of the things the same. I just want to say, when we make statements like that, a lot of folks were not happy with things and aren't happy with the way they are. So I just want to say that I think we do better to recognize there were a lot of things that people liked and that were good and that kept people safe. There were a lot of things that have also been challenged. And this is where we are. I don't necessarily think that everyone feels like they're happy and satisfied with that. So I just don't want us to gloss over that in how we present it and just say people were real happy with what we did and they love it and we're doing it again. because that's not everyone. So I want us to be careful about that. The question I have is the transportation part. I know the buses, I don't know much about the buses, so you could speak to that. But the drop off and pickup on this campus and in my experience at Ashaway Elementary, have been exceptionally messy. And I wonder if you could just speak to why. I know there's some strategies that you've got started for this campus with some different times or whatever that may fix that. Why has it been worse this year?
I don't know what you mean by, what was?
Long lines down the roads, traffic jams, cars out on the main roads.
So the traffic has been historically a problem in the main campus. The campus was built for bus transportation. And more parents are dropping off, and especially because of COVID, they're not comfortable putting their child on a bus. 1:30, parents are lining up, starting at the middle school. School doesn't dismiss till 2:15. The high school, the last bell rings at 2:15. So when parents are backing up, it's also causing backlog to get buses in. So it definitely is a concern. We've worked with Chief Johnson, we've worked with Ocean State, we've worked with the admins to think through lots of suggestions. We've updated routes. Typically, it does start to pan itself out after a couple of weeks, but in front of any school at dismissal time and arrival time, there's going to be congestion, just like, when you leave URI, there's commuter traffic that, it's almost inevitable. But I do think I was out here this today, everyone's running in 10 minutes. So it does move once it moves, but when parents start lining up at 1:30, it does create congestion. Yeah, do you want to?
I can speak to some macro and detail issues too. So one of the macro issues we have are we had about 75% attendance last year, and we had a much reduced ridership. And we actually implored the community to join us in transporting the students. So that's resulted in more parents driving than we originally anticipated. So that's part of it. We're going to be going through all the bus rolls now to see how many students are actually riding. One of the things we did was sent out notification to the community that there's a 10-day expectation that if we haven't seen a student on a bus for 10 days, we're going to remove them from the bus rolls and assume parent transportation. So I think some of this will shake itself out over the course of the next week or two. Also, I remember last year, and I think a lot will recall, the first couple of weeks was really bumpy. I know we had a lot of problems with traffic out on Switch Road, getting the first week or two of the process going. So I'm hoping we'll see better things by the end of this week. But yeah, it's been a little rocky.
But do you think we're at a point, just a follow-up question, where we want to go the other direction and ask parents to go back to buses? I know, I hear what you say. We encouraged it last year because we needed to have the space on the buses. Do we want to now sort of make a plea the other way to put kids back on buses?
Well, we are encouraging back on buses. I think there are so many families that would prefer to drive right now, based on the fact that we're in a high transmission rate. So, but again, even Switch Road is a state road. It's 2 lanes. It was not built for the level of traffic necessarily for the amount of driving that's happening.
Well, maybe what we could do is have an update on the September meeting, and as far as how it's going, and hopefully we'll see some improvement. Thank you. Okay, so actually D was review school committee subcommittees. I thought this was an opportunity for us to take a look at our subcommittees. I thought this would be a good opportunity since it's the beginning of the school year. Have you had a chance to look at the subcommittees? We need to look at anybody not want to be on any of the subcommittees anymore, or would someone like to be on some of the subcommittees? Kind of, this is how we do it. At least is my experience, is that we look at the different ones and see. Right now, it's pretty. I mean, it seems every subcommittee has a fair amount of people as representatives. I'm just wondering if someone else wants to for instance, Mr. Legori, you are the marketing subcommittee. I'm not sure, you'd be interested in something additional, or if you're just happy doing that.
That's a
So,
loaded question.
Yeah. I didn't mean to put you on
I
the
see
spot.
that Linda's the only one on the Health and Wellness Committee. So I'd be happy to join her on that if there's room.
It's
for
actually a
other
nice committee. We meet 4 times a year, and it's
Do something
it's
healthy
a
or
great.
well.
Well, yeah, it's a great conversation, and I'm learning a lot. So that'd be great if you'd like to join. So it's yes, Mr. Kelly.
Make a motion to put Mr. Legori on the Health
Second.
and Wellness Subcommittee.
Okay, there's
Easy
been a
there.
motion and a second to put Ms. Legori on the Health and Wellness Subcommittee.
Ryan was going too slow.
Thank you, Ryan. Those in favor?
Can I vote
I think
opposed?
that we needed discussion. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Legori. Okay, so I guess everyone's happy with the subcommittee. So, yes, Mr. Day.
Your threat assessment team needs to be updated to assistant
Oh,
superintendent.
good pickup, Mr. Day.
Mike,
Michael needs to be on there. Mhm. Okay, I don't think we needed to make a motion for that. That's just a,
I've already assigned him.
you already assigned him? Okay. Okay, so Michael needs to be on there. Thank you very much, Mr. Day. That was a good pickup. I think we're good then. I just thought maybe you guys want to take a look at it. And does anyone have any questions about the different subcommittees? No? Okay, good. Well, I guess we can move on then to consent agenda items. Does anyone need anything pulled from the consent agenda items?
A1, A2, H2.
And H2?
Yep.
H2. Anyone else? No, that's it. So.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I move the remainder.
There's been a motion. There's a second. There's been a motion to remove the remainder items. Those in favor? Any opposed? No abstentions or recusals. So that was unanimous. Okay, A1.
Okay, Madam Chair, at this time, I make a motion to approve A1, the executive session minutes of August 10th, 2021, approval of the executive session minutes of July 13th, 2021, minutes not sealed.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the executive session minutes of August 10th, 2021. Approval of executive session minutes for July 13th, 2021, minutes not sealed. Any discussion on those minutes? No? Those in favor? Any opposition? Abstention? Member Caruso's abstaining. Thank you, Lisa.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve A2, regular session minutes of August 10th, 2021.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the regular session minutes of August 10th, 2021. Any discussion on those minutes? Move it to a vote. Those in favor? Any opposition? Abstention?
Terry was absent.
That's okay. And no recusals. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
make a motion to approve H2, custodial services of fiscal year 2022
Mhm.
to Precision HR Solutions, PHRS, to provide custodial services on an as-needed basis for the flat hourly rate of $25.75, no Charahoe benefits, which is lower than the Rhode Island MPA vendor SJ services of $26.30 per hour.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the custodial services for fiscal year 22 to Precision HR Solutions, PHRS, to provide custodial services on a needed basis for the flat hourly rate, $25.75, no Charo benefits, which is lower than the RI MPA vendor SJ services for $26.30 per hour. Discussion or questions on this? Yes, Mr. Luzon.
Yes. We're down 6 positions, Gina,
Yes.
and there's been no interest whatsoever.
Not yet. But we do, just to clarify, so we have lots of overtime opportunities this year because we're back up and running with our sports. So there's hundreds of hours. If we just looked at facilities use alone, I want to say it was over 400 hours of overtime.
I think at this point, it's almost up to 700.
Okay, so there was definitely, there's lots of opportunity for our custodians to be able to take overtime, so we want to make sure that they have that if the work's available for our employees, but with the number of positions, some because of medical, we have not received any interest. We put things out on our e-updates, bulletins, we've even asked our own staff
recent graduates who are interested right now. I mean, you can go to Job Lot and make $20 an hour. It's very difficult. We're also seeing this similar with teacher assistants. All our certified positions are filled. Our substitute per diems are looking good, the subpool. But custodial and teacher assistants is an area of need.
This is the first time I've seen something like this in a long time.
Yeah, we met with Tom, I think Tom's, yeah,
The Tom's there.
to talk it through.
Well, is this a regional problem too, by any chance?
It's actually national.
It's
The
not.
It's,
reason-
yeah,
I'm specifically asking that because
work all over, I think, the state.
but I've heard a northern part of the state's paying, even for subs and teaching assistants, they're paying considerably more.
I do think, not.
But
well,
I'm deviating from what's
It's,
here, so
it's
I
the big-
apologize.
Right, so it's the, Debbie, you're right, the probationary salary is very low. And I think, the time period is not necessarily something, the amount of time it takes to be able to get into the
Get past
union and get the
probation.
benefits. People are
Right.
able to do it faster in other places.
But I went on to something that's not, I apologize,
That's okay.
Chair. So,
Thank you, Mr. Musan. Any other questions? No? Okay. It's been a motion and a second to approve the custodial services for fiscal year 2022. Those in favor? Any opposition, recusals, or abstentions? Nope. Unanimous. Thank you very much. On to reports. And we have a super, do you want to give a superintendent's report? Or just your update?
Actually,
Yeah.
the enrollment update is right now, we're on track. We have space in all our classrooms. We already mentioned we opened the Charlestown kindergarten because that was our largest at about 66 kindergartners. But no overages at this point. Nice and good ability to be able to space out. The upcoming events are, we have September 22nd, our early release day. Secondary lets out at 12:45. Elementary lets out at 1:55. On September 23rd, we have Hope Valley School Picture Day. On September 27th, the Richmond School Picture Day. On September 27th and 28th, High School Picture Day. And on September 27th, Richmond School Open House, grades 3 through 4, 5:30 to 7 p.m.
Next on the agenda item, school committee requests for future agenda items or legal opinions. Yes, Mr. Stahl.
I have one request,
Okay.
which I emailed to the superintendent to pass on to the clerk after our meeting and the chair. This, I would just
Thank
say
you for
that this,
putting it in an email.
yes, this comes out of a discussion that we were having sort of informally at the end of executive session, a discussion that was brought up here about homeschool numbers. So I would like a report on the number of students opting for homeschool this year compared to the last 3 years. Please include dollar amount of lost revenue per student. So just to clarify, I'm just looking for a comparison of the last 3 years, so pre-COVID, during COVID, and this year. What the homeschool numbers look like and the amount per student. Generally speaking, I would request that previously requested agenda items would be reconsidered as well.
Anyone else?
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to adjourn. Those in favor? That's unanimous.
I was off, but I beat you.
I don't understand.
You did?
I was like, what time is it?
How are you going to calculate your